Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series after Arsenal have beaten Southampton 3-0, courtesy of goals from Alexandre Lacazette. I was going to say Nicolas Pepe then for some reason, Gabriel Magalhaes, and of course, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, 3 goals in 3, Martin Odegaard as well. Just great, really. Just smugness, just pure, unrivaled, comfortable smugness. Odegaard haters, mud in it. Just you love to see it. You just love to see it. You can't really get much better than that. Hello, everybody in the chat box. Hope you're doing well. And I hope you're enjoying the fallout of a win, which was nice to see. And we're going to go into all of that and more and get lots of your thoughts and feelings in the chat box. As always, this is going to be a very chat-heavy show, getting lots of your feelings in the chat box. Liam, good evening to you, mate. Thanks so much for joining us. Satya Brat, thank you so nice. For joining us as always. Chris Moss, thank you for joining me, and thank you for obviously joining us in the Arsenal way as well. You can check out myself and Hush's reaction straight after the game on the Arsenal way. Link is in the description as always. Good evening to everybody else. Manu says, Tom, your title is wrong again. It's Odegaard. I'm loving this nickname. It's great. Absolutely brilliant. And Vinny, who coined the term, you got to give Vinny the credit. He has copyright on that. You got to say fair play. Marcus says, wow, did we really score 3? And Pepe played. So, Tom, is the rumour true? Aubameyang was given leave but went abroad and was late back. So, should we kick off? Should we kick off with the Aubameyang stuff? Should we get it out the way? I feel like we should, probably. So, just flood the chat box with your thoughts and your feelings about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, because that's kind of the big underlying talking point that, you know, we should probably get out of the way first, and then we'll move forwards. It isn't to do with the tattoo, is the first thing. That's separate, and apparently that was fine. The issue, as David Ornstein reported via The Athletic, was that he was away on a pre-agreed trip and returned late. And because he returned late, they have punished him with obviously being removed from the squad for today's game. And obviously this isn't the first time that we've had to deal with his lateness. He was late to the North London derby on match day. He was on the bench that day. He was an unused substitute. And it's just, it's obviously frustrating. It's not surprising. Like, I wasn't surprised. I was like, I read the report and I was, yeah, I've just kind of come to expect this now from Aubameyang, and I was hoping he wasn't going to start the game anyway because he's been in dire form. But there is a side to it where I'm actually a little bit sad. It is a bit sad because you see the video of when he signed that new contract, saying that he wants to become a legend, doing that video of Ian Wright, of course, as we all remember. And it's just not worked out, has it? And I really am disappointed and a bit sad about how things are going for Aubameyang. But that contract again, like if ever we needed a lesson as a club, not to hand out £300,000 per week contracts to players, you don't need any more. There is no need to be reminded of this. There's no need to be told again, don't give unless your name is Erling Haaland, don't give £300,000 per week contracts to players. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Let's see what you guys are saying then in the chat box about Aubameyang. Matt G says Aubameyang should be stripped of the captaincy. However, a part of me feels sorry for him. Yes, you're on the similar lines as me, Matt. When he signed his contract, he was given assurances of the plan for the club. I doubt it was a youth project. Well, I kind of agree with you. What I would say is that he was probably given assurances that they would invest, and they have. They have invested. I mean, since he signed that contract, including the summer that he signed it, Arsenal have spent on their way to £300 million in the transfer windows. So you can't say they've not spent money. since the summer that he signed that contract. Carlos, thanks for joining me, mate, for San Francisco. Really appreciate your kind words and welcome. Chat box, make sure you give Carlos a very warm welcome in the chat. The Captain Manic on Twitch. We do stream on Twitch if you want to join us over there and give us a follow. We're on our way, I think, to 50 followers. Yeah, 50 followers. Go give us a follow on Twitch. We're sending Aubameyang to signing Lacazette. Something that I'm writing about and have just written about and should be out for you guys tomorrow morning is on the contract kind of situation and whether or not we should move one way or the other on those two. So I'll hold my tongue until tomorrow morning. Manu says, let us not send him into the sun just yet. Inside joke based on this morning's show. Zede says, after 15 mins, we finally woke up. Martinelli was brilliant today. No way Aubameyang should walk back in. Wesley says, I'm finding myself honestly not caring too much about Aubameyang. He wasn't doing much before this. This gives another striker a chance. How is this not a positive? On that side of things, looking at it in the sense of it's given the opportunity to try something different where the striker position is usually always occupied by Aubameyang, and he's had struggles, and this is kind of forcing Arteta's hand. Vinny says, really disappointed in Aubameyang. He was brilliant for us for his first couple of seasons. He is struggling for form, and he should be doing everything to rectify that. He comes across as unprofessional, and that's the word that I have used a number of times today in writing, is that I find it unprofessional. He's the club captain at the end of the day, and he is meant to be the example. He is the one that's meant to be the role model. I also find it very, very odd that some people are taking exception with Arteta. And this is coming from someone that's been very critical of Arteta recently and is very much on the side of the line that would ear towards changing the coach at the present. And yet I find the criticism to point the finger at Arteta a bit strange. Suggestions that he shouldn't have publicly outed him again. Look, publicly outed. He tried so hard not to answer the questions in the press conference. If you haven't watched the press conference, you can go and watch it on the Arsenal Way as always. But he tried to not give much away. He simply said he wasn't going to talk about it. He talked about the fact that it was a disciplinary breach, and that was what he said. He gave the reason for it. And people are saying that he should have lied. He shouldn't have outed him and stuff like this. I find that really strange. I find that really odd that you wouldn't want to know, that you would not want to have some clarity on why, rather than there being continuous questions. And to be honest, when it's not the first time, and I know that he outed him the first time as well, but just in this case, it's not even the first time this has happened. You've only got, I feel for the coach in this sense. I really, really do. Paul says, when your highest paid player is the main goal scorer, hasn't scored in the league since October time, it's time to move him on and let players who deserve a chance have a game. I tend to agree. Aaron says, question, great to be back on winning ways. What is the best way to fit Martinelli, Smith Rowe, Odegaard and Saka in the starting lineup? Should Martinelli start up front or should he be our first sub? Well, there is one other option, and that is to switch to a 4-3-3, in which you play a single number 6 and you put Smith Rowe and Odegaard as your 8s and you move Saka to the right, Martinelli to the left, and then you have a striker, be that Lacazette, Aubameyang, whoever. So you could do that. We have done it before. We haven't done it with Martinelli, to be fair, but we have tried it before with Pepe and Saka. It's not really worked. Maybe with Martinelli it would be different, but that's certainly something that we could consider to get all of them in the team. But I kind of do like this situation. I like the players competing. You don't have to put all of the players in the team. Let them fight it out. Let them compete. Let them battle for each other's places. Rotate. We've got the festive period. We're going to need to rotate. Let's see how this moves. Timo Pest, Madison is a poor man's Odegaard. Okay, we've waited long enough. Let's shower our Norwegian legend. And by the way, for those that may be new to the channel, yes, I am being exaggerative. I am being hyperbolic. But give me your thoughts about Odegaard, because another really strong performance. He didn't start the game particularly great. And to be honest, neither did the entire side, to be honest. No one really started the game that well. But when he scored, that moment of the point when he scored 3-3, again, by the way, he could have had 2 more assists. His passing was good. He was direct. He was inventive. And there was players making runs for him. This is what we've said time after time, is that Odegaard needs the players to make runs. He's not he's not a number 10 that's going to be proactive in the sense he's going to be individualistic. He's not a Bruno Fernandes. If you want a Bruno Fernandes, we're going to have to go and spend a hell of a lot of money on someone similar. But for right now, Odegaard is a creator. He's an enabler. He's an emphasizer, is what he is. And he needs the players around him to make the runs, and they've just not been making them. And Saka and Lacazette made some really good movement for Odegaard today, and he should have had 2 assists. Great layoff for Lacazette, who took far too many touches and should have struck a shot straight in either the side of Caballero in goal. And a brilliant spotted back heel for Saka in the first half as well, that Saka should have done a lot better with as well. But it is brilliant how, when he's given the movement ahead of him, how influential he can be in the team. Let's see what you're saying in the chat box, people. Odegaard's a magician, says Chris Moss. Henry Gooner says Odegaard, man of the match, showing again that he's not a flop. Goldilocks did well today, but can he do the same in away games? Well, I mean, he scored at Everton, scored at Manchester United. Yes, he made mistakes, as did all of the team in those 2 games, but he still scored in those matches. And that's been the biggest criticism that people have had, is that he doesn't have enough goal contributions to his game. He scored 3 in 3. He should have 5 for the season. He's got 4 from that brilliant free kick at Burnley. He should have 5 if it weren't for Aubameyang stealing that strike and then being offside like a fool. But I mean, 4.5 goals this season is pretty darn good return, considering he's played, 13, 14 games so far. I'm pretty happy about it. Tom says, happy that he's getting a good run in the squad. I like the creativity and pressing. And the pressing too. There's something that goes really under the radar, is how much he presses. I think he still ranks as one of the most aggressive, if not the most aggressive player in the Premier League. He leads from the front. His leadership skills are really, really solid. He's got, I don't want him to be captain, but he's got that kind of captain mentality that he wants to draw that team, draw that energy. Him and Martinelli in the same side gives you a lot of kind of, free-flowing force in the forward line, and I like that about having those kids. And he's 22. People talk about him like he's in his prime, in his mid to late 20s, because he's been around since he was 16 at Real Madrid. He's 22 years old. We need to start talking about him like he's 22 years old and appreciate that he's scoring at a level and he's playing at a level right now, which is, it's very good for a 22-year-old at this level. He's 1 year older than Smith Rowe. It still absolutely shocks me. Steph, Tom, Odegaard is better than Maddison at 22, so he'll be even better than him when he's 24 and 25. He is more creative than Maddison, and Maddison is so inconsistent. I'm happy with Martin. Hovik said Odegaard's pressing in the 80th minute, though. I mean, just non-stop. I mean, I loved the way in which we really had fun. Like, you could tell that we had fun. Let's and I appreciate all the really nice comments that you're saying about. I mean, I nearly put him in this week, and I'm gutted that I didn't, Jason. I nearly put him in the fantasy team, but I didn't. I'm an absolute mare fantasy-wise. It is what it is. I'm having a bad year. Really bad. It's really annoying because of my group chat with my lads back home. The constant line of, look, you work in football and you're sitting at the back of our fantasy league. Yes, it's embarrassing. It's horrible. It's just part and parcel of fantasy. There's no guarantees. No matter if you've got the time to put all the research in, then great. But otherwise, I just go with passion in that game. Let's talk about the actual game. Let's talk about the fact that we need to have this discussion about, were we good because Southampton were bad, or were we good because we were good? Because I know that that's been a big part of the discussion around this game, is how good were Southampton? How good were we? And I think if you look at some of the games that we've played this season against Norwich, Burnley, Watford, Newcastle, trying to think of any more. Not Norwich, Watford, Burnley, and Newcastle in particular. Games, and Aston Villa, I suppose. Games that we've won at home, Burnley away, against these sides that you expect us to beat. In those teams, we weren't convincing. In those games, we weren't convincing. We struggled. We allowed them to have a fair few chances. And, it could have easily been a different result. And it hasn't given me much confidence during that 10-game unbeaten run. Besides the first 20 minutes of the game today, in which it really did feel like a bit of a hangover from the Everton game, there was a difference for me. there was a difference for me in how we played today for the last 70 minutes of the match in contrast to those games against Norwich and Newcastle and Watford and Burnley. The difference is one, when we scored, we didn't let up. And that's been one of the biggest criticisms of this team. As we know, I don't need to teach you to suck eggs. We all know that when Arsenal have scored, we've sat back. We have just sat back and allowed oppositions to try and get the equaliser. That didn't happen today. That did not occur. Arsenal got the goal and they pushed. And that is a positive sign. And that's what we wanted. We knew that this game wasn't going to turn heads. This game isn't going to turn someone who's Arteta out into Arteta in. It was never going to have that kind of effect. And so the maximum that this game could achieve is just offer something to kind of grab onto. And that for me was the fact that there was a change in the mentality of when we scored. There was no doubt in my mind that we would score in this game. And I predicted 1-0 because I was expecting us to score and then it'd be a bit bitty until the end and for us to kind of like hold on and them to have a fair few chances, us to have a few chances and miss them. But it wasn't like that. And it was different today. And that, I think, is something positive to look at. So before you go into, and you start hearing people go, Southampton were dreadful, park that for a second. Because yes, there's merit in their argument. Southampton were bad because they were. But Norwich were bad. Watford were bad. Newcastle were bad. But we didn't look good in those games. We looked bad in those games and we didn't capitalize on our goals. In this game, we did and we pushed. And I think that's something to be positive about. So that's definitely, yeah. Vinny, that was the key, Tom. We went for the throat rather than easing up. And at the end of the game, they were having fun. They were really having fun. They were nicking the ball high up the pitch. They were turning over possession in the opposition's half. And when you've got a crucial game against West Ham in midweek, which is a huge, huge game off the back of them having an awful trip to Burnley tomorrow, it's going to be crucial that we play in a very similar intensity. If we play the same exact team again, I'll be surprised because we're playing so many games close to each other, but you never know with this manager. But it's a big, big game. You win that game. If they drop points against Burnley, which, can happen. I doubt it, but it can happen. Then we've got a chance to go above them in midweek, and that would be huge. So, absolutely. Easy L says, this is where we are in our development. We can smash average teams when they aren't playing well, but good teams will beat us when they play at their average level. And it's something that we need to change, Ed. It really is. It's something that hopefully we will change when we play West Ham. And that's a big, big test again. Kim says, not entirely unrelated and quite shallow, but I do not want Hasenhüttl at our club. Should we change Arteta? Every time I see him, he has an annoyed look on the sidelines. He looks like Robert Webb doing an annoyed reaction on the Peep Show. What a comparison. I'm sure Robert Webb would be thrilled with that. And maybe our overseas listeners haven't got a clue who Robert Webb is. Betafax says, mix of both. It was a good Premier League match, but we only excelled because of Southampton's inherent level. Awful level, really. Other teams might have capitalised on Partey and Xhaka's mishaps. Yes, something I've not actually talked about so far. Xhaka and Partey and Gabriel as well at the start of the game. Really poor playing out from the back. Really poor up until that goal. And even in the goal, we nearly messed up playing out from the back. We gave away possession so many times, so cheaply. And that is something that, that's a concern when you're going up against a team as good as West Ham in midweek, that we're going to give the ball away in really dangerous situations. I hope that we don't, obviously, I hope that we don't, but I hope that we're a little bit more, careful. I want us to be progressive. I want us to be adventurous, but it needs to be, more accurate. It needs to be more measured. And that's probably where we sit right now. Thomas Bowles says, Odegaard was everywhere and epitomised our efforts to put the boot down on the throats. The only thing easing up gets us is scored on. Absolutely. Kian says, Ramsdale is the best keeper we have had in a very, 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 very long time. It's probably fair to say. And I saw Manu said, let's talk about the main man, Rambo. Look, Ramsdale's passing, his shot stopping, his mentality, all of those are some things we've lacked in a goalkeeper. Leno is a decent keeper. It's not to bash Leno. He's a good keeper, good shot stopper, got decent reactions, But I'm sorry, he's nowhere near and to be honest, I'm surprised that no one's asking where he is because he wasn't on the bench again, I don't think. I don't know where Leno is. Someone needs to ask the question. Someone needs to ask where Leno is because I have no idea where he is. And the fact he's not popping up in those, he's not been popping up, has he, in those injury updates from the website. I'm just having a look because I didn't actually read this week. So let me just have a quick. Let's have a look at the. Where is it? Team news. Martinelli's. Oh, Leno. Here we go. Leno, right groin. Bernd Leno sustained a groin issue in training last week and is being assessed. Okay. I look like a mug. So he sustained an issue, but I'm sure nothing was said ahead of Man United. He's being assessed. I mean, there's something dodgy going on there. There's just something weird. You know, I just get that weird, strange feeling there's something more to this than just that suggestion. How much would you take for Leno? Chat box, fill it up. How much are you accepting for Leno in the January window? For me, £18 million. Kid football journalist, by the way, yeah. How much are you taking for Leno in the chat box, people? Because I'm 18 mil, maybe is where I sit. 18 million, is that too small of an amount? Omar, £25 million. O'Malley, 15 to 20. Kian says 20. Angry Gooner says 25. ML Reaction says 25. There's a lot of different kind of figures. 10 to 15. We've got some people going all the way up to 30. Some people saying about 10 to 15 million pounds. 16 to 20 is very precise. 12 million from Hilmy. I don't know how much he's actually worth. I mean, let's have a look at Transfermarkt, the bastion of truth in regards to market values. I'm only kidding, Manuel, I promise. 16.2 million is what Transfermarkt rate Leno. I mean, he's a 29-year-old goalkeeper reaching towards the end of his prime years as a shot stopper. You know, 15 million, is that enough? Is that a good enough sale price? Could you get in a replacement? I think you probably could. I'll tell you what I don't want. I don't want Willy Caballero coming in. My goodness. Or how bad must Southampton's third choice goalkeeper be if they have to get a 40-year-old Willy Caballero in? I mean, if that was us, if Ramsdale got injured, if Leno was injured like he is now, and Arsenal, instead of promoting, say, a Karl Hein or a Conquo into the first team for some games, decided to go out and sign, I don't know, a random, let's say an Alex Runnison style goalkeeper. Oh, dear. How bad must the third choice be? It must be. That's such a strange one. Is it Harry Lewis, I think? And I think he's played for them. I think he's played against us, actually, in the FA Cup in 2017, if my memory serves me well. I think we actually played against Harry Lewis when he was a lot younger. Surely it's worth giving him the opportunity. I mean, for a goalkeeper, especially when it's Willy Caballero at 40 years of age, are you really getting more out of him than you are giving time to a kid in the Southampton team? I really find that really strange. Kim says, I actually felt for him. He looked like some random boss man playing goal. Horrendous tries at punching or catching the ball at all of the set pieces. Yeah, unbelievable. Vinny says, crazy considering they are known for having such a great youth system. Yeah, really good, solid point. Steph says, Tom, to be honest, City and Chelsea also don't dominate the game through 90 minutes, so it will improve with time. I think it's part of football. Henry says, great man management today from Arteta, taking Gabby off, who was on a yellow. Yes, I mean, we do criticise Arteta's in-game decisions, and you have to say that was a good one, taking off Gabriel. That was really interesting. What do we make of Nicolas Pepe being brought on as well towards the end of the game? Not Eddie Nketiah. An interesting substitution. Pepe being given a few minutes on the pitch. Is that ahead of the festive period, making sure he's playing? Didn't see Tavares today. Tierney kept his place. I thought Tierney was excellent, by the way. I thought he was really, really good. I mean, you compare that performance to how he played against Everton. I thought it was night and day. I thought his crosses were superb. Obviously got an assist as well. Thought he was really, really solid. Merry Christmas says, someone said today, Tom, what was Bologna's right back for us to steal Tom? Yeah, how bad must their right back be to allow us to take Tom? How good must they be, rather, to allow us to take Tomiyasu? Tomiyasu is a force of nature. That's what Tomiyasu is. He's the most consistent footballer I've ever seen. It's the most consistent right back I have ever known in an Arsenal shirt. I'm looking back, your Lee Dixons of this world, your Bakary Sanyas. I'm thinking back to those days, your Laurens. I tell you, Tomiyasu, give him a good run for their money. This kid is something special. I love Tommy. I think he's brilliant. His mentality, he's just kind of like a never say die kind of defender. He just never gives up on a tackle. He loses the ball sometimes, very rarely, but he fights for it back. And the thing is, he actually gets it. It's not like when you see sometimes a striker, or if you watch me in six-a-side, if I lose the ball and I chase back, basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to look good. Like, I've lost the ball, I better run back and make an effort. That's not Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu is, I'm getting that ball and there's nothing you're going to do to stop me. That's Tomiyasu. He's brilliant. Absolutely love him. And you got to give credit to Arteta and Edu for finding him. Like, we'll sit there and praise the player, but the recruitment is great, and that's improved. Again, we bring it full circle back to Odegaard. Really good bit of business. I'm happy we got him. I don't think there was too many number 10s out there that we were going to get for a similar price that have given us more than him. And I find it really strange that people still try to bash him. I had someone tweet me. Let me give him credit. Let me give the person credit who tweeted me. Nick Causa at Nick Causa 92 on Twitter. I tweeted saying, "Where's my Odegaard haters at?" It's all it's a fun and game. It's tongue in cheek. He says you can't possibly deny he's been crap since signing. I don't get this. Where are people getting this from? I really don't understand it. At least he started to affect games a bit more over the last 3 matches, but he's been nowhere near good enough overall. Odegaard lovers have been silent until now because they know he's been crap. I've been writing pieces about the guy for ages, highlighting his positive points, highlighting his pressing statistics, that he's one of the most aggressive players in the Premier League. He leads by example. He doesn't stop talking. He doesn't stop leading that side. His passing honestly, his passing is something to be marveled at if he has runners. As I said several times, he's not going to be your protagonistic Bruno Fernandes. He's not going to be a Bernardo Silva's. That's not his style. He's an enabler. He's a bit of a luxury player. He emphasizes how good the team is, but he needs other people to be doing their jobs to work. And yes, if we ever get this club back to the position where it can be challenging for titles, Odegaard probably isn't good enough to be our number 10 if he plays like he is now. To be good enough to be playing in a title challenging side, you need to be a protagonist. You need to be someone that can win games by herself. And yes, he's scoring goals, but I'm just speaking honestly. He would need to be doing it consistently. He would need to be getting into the box a lot more, being more direct, being more clinical. And, he would need to be more individualistic in terms of that skill. But for where we are right now, which is trying to get back into the Champions League and then hopefully become an established Champions League side, Odegaard at 22 can develop into a really solid player for us. Maybe he could turn into one of those protagonistic players. I mean, I'm using names like Bernardo Silva and Bruno Fernandes, and you consider how old they are. They're 5 years more down the line than Odegaard. They're 5 or more years older. And at 22, I think he's doing great. And to describe him as some people would say, crap, is, I'm sorry, short-sighted and biased is what that is. And it just doesn't take into account how good of a player he is. And it's no surprise, since he signed for the club in January of last year, that the form picked up ridiculously so. And there you go. Tom, who is your captain pick if Aubameyang is demoted? The question is, should he be? And I mean, I'd ask you guys in the chat box, should Aubameyang lose the armband? It's something that I asked James from AFTV yesterday. I lose track of time. I think it was yesterday. He said no. Obviously, that was before we found out about what was going on today. But he said no, because it might do more damage than it would do good. And I see that argument. I see the argument that, it could be more, it could be of a bigger detriment. But to me, I absolutely would take the captaincy away from him. You cannot be the example when you are turning up late time after time. I said that twice because it's only happened twice. But that's twice too many. One time is too many if you're the captain at 32. You're 32. You're the oldest guy in the team. Lacazette, Cedric. Yeah, he is the oldest guy in the team. He is the dad of the team. He cannot be setting these examples to our kids. They are going to grow up terrible people. I'm going off track. But you can't set that example. Let's see what you guys said. Question was, should he lose the armband? Andy, yes. Jose, yes. Kian, yes, yes, yes. James, yes, he should. Even before all of this. Herb, yes. ADT, yes. Rancid, yes. Omar, yes. Herb, yes. Give it to Laka. Tom, strip the armband. Chris Moss, big up both Gabriel. Slightly off topic. Stephen says, yes, Tierney should be given the armband. Suppose the next question is, who for you takes the armband? If you're gonna take the armband off Aubameyang, who do you give the armband to? That's the biggest question. Omar says, give it to Gabriel. Tom agrees. Gabriel should get the armband. Callie just reckons he should leave. We should be selling Aubameyang. I mean, would we be selling Aubameyang in the summer? I tell you what. Here's your offer. Arsenal sell Aubameyang in the summer for, let's say, £10 million. They extend Lacazette's contract by 2 years. We offer him one. He rejects it, says, I ain't staying for 1 year. I want a 2-year contract. They offer Lacazette a 2-year contract. He accepts it. He gets the armband. You may not like that, but that's the way that things tend to go in terms of this club. They give the senior players, and he is the vice captain right now. So Aubameyang sold for 10 million. Lacazette given a 2-year deal and the armband, and Arsenal sign a striker. I won't say who it is, but let's say it's one of the players we're linked to, a Vlahovic, a Isak, a DCL, a Jonathan David, a Yusuf Enesri. We sign one of those players. We give Laka a 2-year deal in the armband, and Aubameyang is sold for 10 million. Are you taking that deal? That's what I'm asking you. Are you taking that deal? Let me know whether you would do that or not. Callie says yes. Navarra says no. Jose says no extension. Let's scroll down a little bit more. I know there's a little bit of a delay between me saying things and then you being able to respond to them in the chat box. Andy says, I like this deal. Brad says yes. Cass says no. Stephen says do. If it's, by the way, if it's a no, I want to know your reasons. Tell me why. Why wouldn't you take that deal? I'm really interested by it. Omar says yes. Stephen says absolutely 100%. Francis says, where can I sign? Wesley says take it. Jason says yes. Kian says no. O'Malley says yes, sir. I want to see some reasons, people. I want to see you telling me why. If you're no, I want to know why. No interest in Laka anymore, says some bloke. The Lion of Judah fake news says no. What kind of name is that? Alan says absolutely. Clarify says if not, no. Which I don't really know what that means. Damien says no. Vinny says I'd be happy with Laka as a true professional. He hasn't been playing and his attitude has been incredible. Mitch just says no. His reason, because. I love that. I've asked for a reason, just because, you know, you can't really disagree with that, to be fair. Tessie says I wouldn't give the armband to Laka. Ifa says no, can't stick with Laka, we need to move on. GSM says Tierney should be the captain to be the guy can't stop shouting. Rail says no, Laka would miss payday when he leaves on a free. I mean, if that's the reason, I find that a bit strange. Mr. Thugi says Laka can't be the captain because if we buy a striker, you must be better than him. So Laka won't be a regular. Well, that's fine. It means you give the vice captain to someone else who is playing. As I said on the Arsenal way earlier, I do find the idea of the captain's armband a little bit token gesture. Do you know what I mean by that? I find just having the armband shouldn't make you captain. There should be a number of captains in the side. Just because you're wearing the armband in the team doesn't mean that you're the only one that can step up and stand up and speak. It needs to be a multiple person situation. Let's go to Sam Tressiter, who says, no, I think we need to learn from our mistakes. We need to learn to move on from Lacazette, purely an age thing. And if we keep him, he's not really the quality we want as a starter, and he won't stay as backup. And it's a fair shout. I doubt he would want to stay as backup. He wants to play in the last years of his career. I'd be shocked if he signs. I'd be shocked if he stays at Arsenal. But the thing is, I can't see Arsenal selling Aubameyang, and I can't see them renewing Lacazette. And that means that Aubameyang's going to stay, and it means that Lacazette's going to go, and it means that we're going to have to find a solution. And I do feel as though just simply adding a new striker doesn't solve our problems. You've also got to factor in Balogun's future into this too. Is he going to get any opportunities next season? Is keeping Lacazette harming the opportunities for him? I'm not sure. We've got about how long I'm going to go for? Let's say 10 minutes. It might be longer. Let's get some questions. It's question time in the chat box, people. Let's go through this. Of course, I will be live tomorrow morning as well at 8 a.m. Do drop a like on the video if you haven't done so already. We're going through plenty of comments today. Number one rule about TGT, engagement. Always answering your questions. Always talking about your comments. Get them in. Over 450 of you watching. Thank you so much for the support, guys, as always. Glad that so many of you join us. Let's get those questions into the chat box and we'll go through as many of them as possible. Navarra says, Tom, I think Arteta is doing to Partey what he did to Willian, subpar performances and refusing to take him off. It's not a bad point. Sambi came on today for Granit Xhaka. The Lokonga thing stresses me out because Lokonga's been our best centre mid and he's sitting out. And I don't get it. I don't understand how you can justify leaving out your best central midfielder. It makes no sense to me. I really don't understand how you can leave out your best centre mid. I really don't get it. Wilson just simply says, what on earth is going on with Aubameyang right now? Scroll back about 20 minutes. We've been talking about it for about that long. O'Malley says, do you drop Laka to keep Martinelli in the team when Emile Smith-Rowe comes back? No. I think that there is an opportunity for us to go to 4-3-3. Lokonga at 6. Drop both Xhaka and Partey. Lokonga at 6. Odegaard, Smith-Rowe at 8. Gabriel Martinelli left. Saka right, Lacazette or Aubameyang, whoever's on form, playing in the middle. I think that's the way to go. Kian says, Tom, say Aubameyang does leave, would you give Martinelli the number 14? Ooh. Is that? I mean, would I give Martinelli the number 14 is a big question. Who are we missing in terms of numbers? We've got a number 10. Have we got number 11? Who's number 11? Have we not got number 11? I thought we did. Maybe we don't. I might give him number 11. Oh, no, Lucas Torreira has number 11, to be fair. He's on loan, isn't he? I don't know about 14. 14's a bit special. I feel like you need to earn 14 a bit more than Martinelli currently has. It's not to say that he won't one day be that good. I just, I feel like 14's a little bit special. And maybe I wouldn't give it up so easily. Vinny says, how do you think we address our issues in centre mid? We seem to struggle to progress the ball. Vinny, for me, it's simple. You play your best player, and our best player in midfield is sitting on the bench right now. You address it also by coaching. You say be more progressive. And I just felt like, again, it was slow. It was a little bit passive in the middle today. And I can't get on board with sticking by Partey and Xhaka at the moment. They haven't earned that place. Lokonga's earned it. Lokonga has earned his place in the team. Henry says, big shout to Rob Holding's hair. I hear he uses the same one as Dan Potts. How do you kidding, Daddy boy? Callie says, same 11 against Arsenal, against West Ham. Whoa. Do you go with the same 11? Consistency? No, I mean, no. The answer is no. I bring Lokonga back in. Lokonga comes back in for either one of Xhaka or Partey, which I don't really care. One of them, take him out, bring in Lokonga, and let him play. Jason says, primary targets for the January window. Look, it's really hard, Jason, to come up with a specific name for you. I'm sorry. I think that the midfield loan option is probably going to be where we're at. We're going to lose Partey. We're going to lose El Neni in midfield. I feel like a short-term option and then wait till the summer to go for that big marquee player because I don't think the one that we want is going to be available in January. So probably a loan. Mark Roca from Bayern Munich. Not a bad shout. Hector Herrera from Atleti. You've also got Jeffrey Kondogbia from Atleti. Could be available on a short term. Replaced Partey. Ironically, could replace Partey for us. Aaron Ramsey, of course, at Juventus. There's suggestions, of course, that he may be off and away. Could we take him back on a 6-month loan? Maybe it's not such a bad idea, although he isn't really a deep midfielder. But who says that we don't need to add something a little bit more expressive and attacking in midfield to cover in the positions? Yo-Yo says Sambi will be leaned on heavily in the coming weeks. I'm sure he will, especially when Partey and El Neni leave. ADT says, if Leno leaves in January, would you sign another goalkeeper or promote a Conker or Hein? I would need to speak to Kev a little bit more about how they're getting on in the youth team, see how they feel. But it may be a case of just bringing in someone on the cheap who's experienced, Alex McCarthy, Fraser Forster, Sam Johnston, someone like that. Just bringing someone in to be a bit of a backup. Junko says, sad how we see Aubameyang and Laka as failed strikers, yet we love creative midfielders over 2 to 3 seasons. With 2 defensive midfielders, we don't create. Wish Aubameyang could join Barca. He would bang goals. Look, the honest answer is, and I support my good right-hand man, Drew, who I'm looking forward to speak on. So I'm getting, Drew, if you're watching, get your arse in gear and get on the channel because it's been too blooming long since you've been around, mate. I know you've been off gallivanting with the fiance, but, you know, just get yourself on the channel, fella, because I'm bored without you. I need you in my life again, Drew. Come on. I'll tell you what, people, start tweeting Drew at Logiclera. If you want me to spell that for you, that's Logikleher at Logiclera. Everyone, go on your Twitter. He's going to hate me for this. Go on to your Twitter, at Logiclera. I've just put it into the chat box. It's right there on, that way. Tweet him, at Logiclera. Get on TGT. We miss you. That's what you need to be tweeting. Get him on. Drew Thompson. We haven't seen him in long enough. Get him on the channel. That's what we need to be doing. Because he will tell you, and I side with him on this, regarding Aubameyang, he got umpteen amounts of chances at Dortmund. He was getting chances thrown into him left and right, and he scored lots of goals because they created lots of chances. But he still missed loads. So just by putting Aubameyang into, say, Barcelona, who, by the way, are not the bastion of creativity as they used to be, does not guarantee you that, you know, that he will be in the side. It doesn't guarantee you that. And that's where we need to ultimately be, is we need to be in a position where we're creating good chances for a striker who is more clinical than Aubameyang. Aubameyang isn't even our best finisher in the... I mean, arguably, Nicolas Pepe is our best finisher. Would I play him at striker? No. Again, I don't think he possesses the overall all-round game to play in the central striking role. I think he could work off of a striker, not in a 10 role, but slightly skewed to the right, in a kind of a right-forward role, but he plays so far out wide the right-hand side, he never gets into the game enough. But we need a striker that is so far more clinical than what we currently have. That's where I was at. Have we all tweeted Drew yet? We better be tweeting him. I don't want to see people backing out of this. I want to see you tweeting him. Tweet Drew. Get him in. I'm not saying right now. We don't have to get him in this show, but he needs to be on a podcast very soon. Sam Chester, Tom, looking over the past year, what do you see as your biggest achievement? Growing the channel or landing the dream job? Look, the channel is always an absolute honor to run, and I never, ever, ever hide away from thanking Craig. Every time I talk about TGT, I talk about Craig. He's the one who started it, and without him, there's no this. And to be honest, without Craig, I probably wouldn't even have a job in the industry. So I'm very, very thankful to Craig for everything that he did for me. And I believe he started. I believe the Same Old Arsenal is going back on again. So if you were ever a watcher of that and you were missing Same Old Arsenal, it is coming back. Make sure you go and watch it. Craig will be there with all the usual gang. But I mean, obviously, getting the dream job and writing about Arsenal every day as my job, it's absolutely, it's a dream come true. And by all accounts, it's going very well. So I'm very happy with what I'm doing, and I'm hoping it goes on into the future. Is all I can say on that. So there you go. Thanks, mate. Sam, as always, big support of the channel. Absolute legend. Omar says, Ronaldo missed a sitter. Did he? I haven't watched the Man United game. I was working till 9, so I've not yet missed it. But annoyingly, they did get that penalty. But I mean, that does, if anything, you should be encouraged by the fact that they struggled against Norwich. Hopefully that means that all is still not well at Man United. Steph says, Tom, have you noticed Grealish and Benjo have done nothing? But if they played for Arsenal, people would be talking, but it helps that they are English, so nobody would talk about it. Do English players get an easier ride than imports from abroad? Maybe. Probably. Grealish is not... I haven't seen the same Grealish that I saw at Man City. Sancho has got a fair amount of criticism, but I don't think... I say fair in the sense of how much he's got. I think he's got a reasonable amount of criticism. I don't think it's reflective of how poor he's kind of been. But I mean, again, the man, the myth, the legend, Drew Thompson will tell you that he's being wasted and he's not being used in the correct way. So there you go. Marley, what do I ask him? Think of a question, Marley. Come on. Think of a question. Yes, Jashar. Same old Arsenal. Pick it up. Thanks, Vinny. Appreciate your support, mate, as always. Come on, guys. There's 450 of you in the chat. Please do drop a like. Please do throw in your questions. I will stick around as long as you keep asking questions up until the hour. Let's go to Chris, who says, Tom, I backed her to go over Maddison from the start. As good to see him succeed. Do you think he is now a mainstay in our strongest team with everyone healthy? I think he is because he is kind of by default because he is really our only natural number 10 that plays that creative role. The thing about Smith Rowe is that playing on that left-hand side has kind of unlocked his directness. It's enabled Smith Rowe to be a much more aggressive, a lot more dangerous of a threat on the goal playing on that left flank. I think it suits him. So I think yes. Ironically, I don't think Martinelli starts in our best team right now. And that's not down to him not being good enough. He's a very good player. But Smith Rowe just looks that kind of cut above. I think it's a real toss-up between Smith Rowe and Martinelli on the left, Saka on the right. The biggest issue is at striker. Because, I mean, arguably, if you put a brilliant striker in this Arsenal team, you would think that the chances we are creating, the few, you would be able to take them. I previously thought that you could put, say, even Robert Lewandowski into this Arsenal team, and because of the lack of chance creation, you wouldn't necessarily see a massive difference in goal output. But I do think over time we've gradually seen that that isn't the case, and that whilst we've got one of the lowest chance creation statistics, we also have one of the lowest chance conversion ratings in the league. So if you fix the chance conversion of the few chances you are creating, you are going to score more goals. So a striker is still probably from your question, which I know, Chris, I've gone on a huge tangent, but it probably does highlight the need for a striker that much more. Rich says, I'd still take Greenwood from Man United if we can get him. Greenwood's going to be a brilliant striker. I have no doubt about that. Max Aarons, we were all foaming at the mouth about in the summer, but he has struggled this year. Nobody was even mentioning Tomiyasu. It shows our scouts are working their magic. Hey, I like the idea of Max Aarons. And I think that he's still a very decent player. And I think if Norwich go down, he'll probably be poached. And he could succeed in a better team that plays, if you think about it, he's an attacking right back playing in a side in the Premier League that are always on the back foot. Is he really going to be able to express himself like he's capable of? The answer is probably not. You're probably not going to see the best from him. I mean, if you think back, how much do we think that Marcus Alonso struggled for Bolton? He goes and plays for Fiorentina and then Chelsea, and you see how he unlocks in a better side. Sometimes when players move from... we think about Gini Wijnaldum. I know he was decent at Newcastle, but he moves to Liverpool and he's unlocked just as this brilliant player. And I do feel like sometimes when these guys are playing in these lower division, lower down the league sides that are constantly under pressure, especially defenders, and in fullbacks in particular, you're never going to see the best from those players. But, it's still a solid point that Tomiyasu is again been absolutely brilliant for us. Raul says, are there any cheaper striker options in South America that Edu could source just as he got Martinelli? Well, we are linked to a guy called Yuri Alberto, who plays for Internacional. He's rated fairly highly, and he's certainly someone that the club seem to be interested in because these links have persisted for around a year. So you would think, wouldn't you, that he indicates that we are looking at someone like that. Whether or not we end up going for him is another thing. Jonathan says, Tom, if there was a case that Saliba was called back in January, do you think... Well, first of all, Jonathan, he can't be. I'm sorry. There is no recall clause as far as I'm aware in his contract. Let's, though, for the sake of hypotheticals, if he was to come back, would he displace Gabriel or White? Look, it would be White of the two. Gabriel has been very good. I think it's pretty close. I think they've been very good this season. The difference is that Saliba's been playing against opposition in Liga, whereas Ben White's been playing against opposition in the Premier League, and it's a different level. Liga is still a very good level, and he's definitely developing, but the Premier League is a different and what you would argue to be a higher level. So it's touch and go. But what I think is it's good that we've got this competition. I also think that just because we've spent £50 million on White doesn't mean we have to guarantee him a place in the team next season if Saliba comes back. Let him fight it out. Let him duke it out for the position. And if not, I mean, there is the hope that we could even go to a back three, which has proven successful for many teams in the Premier League Just ask Thomas Tuchel. Rohit says, no one hates Odegaard. Oh, sorry. Who is Odo? No one hates Odegaard. It's just that he has flattered to deceive, especially since he was on loan last season. I disagree. There are absolutely Odegaard haters out there. There are, without a shadow of a doubt, people that would love to see Odegaard fail at the club. They just exist. They are just there. They're just out there. It is what it is. Daniel says, why is no one talking about the fact that Gabriel has more goals than Harry Kane? Daniel, you beautiful human being. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. Is that for real? No, surely not. Gabriel Magalhaes. Assuming this is Premier League statistics. Gabriel has how many goals this season? He has 2 goals this season in the Premier League in 13 games. Searching up on Mr. Harry Kane. How many goals does Harry Kane have in the... Oh my... He's really scored 1 goal. Wow. Daniel, that is my comment of the evening. Thank you so much for bringing that happiness and joy into my life this evening. That's brilliant. That's unbelievable. How brilliant is that? How brilliant is that? Marcus, so with Aubameyang's future in doubt, as are all of our forwards now, is our priority in January a striker or still a centre midfielder? I still think it's centre midfield because of the African Cup of Nations. But I would be less surprised than I was, say, a week or so ago if Arsenal did move for a centre midfielder. Because I think that the situation with Aubameyang, Lacazette's uncertain future, Nketiah's reluctance to sign a new deal, Balogun likely going on loan, and Aubameyang going to the African Cup of Nations, I'd be less surprised than I was, say, a week ago. I'd still be surprised if we signed a striker in January, but I would be less surprised than I was, say, a week ago. Sam Trester says, do you see any avenue for bringing Mavropanos back from loan? As far as I'm aware, Sam, the clauses attached to his deal, pretty much it's unless Stuttgart get relegated, he'll be a Stuttgart player next season. If they do get relegated, they still have an option, and it's only around 3 million quid. It's not exactly expensive. So Mavropanos will go, which is a shame because I think we probably cut ties with Mavropanos a little bit too soon. I mean, especially for that amount of money, 3 million quid for a player of as how good he has been. I mean, I think he got in the Bundesliga Player of the Month. He was in the Team of the Month for the Bundesliga at one point. I think maybe we did cut ties with him too soon, which is a bit of a shame. But what we hear from Arteta is that if you're not kind of on board and you're not in his plans, you're not with the program, or you can't fit the mold, you don't stay and you go. So that's a different one. Amir, Tom, I'm a new subscriber. What would a good season for Arteta be in your opinion? First of all, welcome, and chat box, do welcome Amir into the community. You've joined a brilliant gang of people, so thank you for joining. In terms of what would be a good, I said from the start of the season, and I do not deviate from my target at the start of the season, that top 6 is the target. It's the minimum expectation. Rather than say target, it's the minimum expectation that I expect from Arsenal. Arsenal should be playing in Europe. And no, I don't count the UEFA Conference League as a competition that's worthy of note, because it isn't. The Europa League is a route into the Champions League. And that's the only reason why I actually value it as a competition, is because it has a route into the Champions League, a route that we have missed the opportunity to get to 3 times, 2 semi-finals. Obviously, we went out to Olympiacos in the round of 16 or 32, whatever it was, and obviously we lost the final. But 3 times you think of the 2 semis against Atleti and Villarreal and the final against Chelsea. 3 times we've had a chance, a 1 in 4 and then a 1 in 2 chance to get into that Champions League, and we failed. Top 6 has got to be the minimum. Top 4 would be an overachievement based upon where I view the squad and where I rank the manager in regards to Premier League coaches. It would be an overachievement, and it would be a brilliant achievement. But yeah, top 6 is the minimum expectation for me. Omar, shut up, mate. You're not a new subscriber. You've been around for years. I think Omar was in the chat box before I even took over from Craig. So ridiculous. Merry Christmas says, I still think you're right. Maybe Tom play Balogun here up front to start a new reward here soon. No, I genuinely would start him in the next game. I'd maintain this. I'd start him in the next game. Absolutely. I'm going to time you out in a second. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Nice to be here, says Amir. Welcome, mate. There you go. Tom, so much for not using titles like Arteta out a second right now. Great channel. Yeah, it is what it is. That, yeah, it's just not what we do. Ife says, Tom, we need a striker who is more commanding and present. Our strikers don't demand the ball when they're in dangerous areas. They don't hassle and bully defenders for dangerous spaces. It's a good point. We need strikers that are more, what's the word I'm looking for? Tenacious, a bit more territorial with their spaces, maybe. I think that's probably where we're at. I've just checked the time and it's gone past 10. I only meant to come on for half an hour. I've been sitting here for 55 minutes. You've been very lucky, or maybe. Drop a like on the video, guys, if you've enjoyed yourself, even if you haven't. If you're watching on catch up, do leave a comment in response to any of the topics that we've covered today. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. UK time, as we are every single day. I'll be looking to do a podcast for you at some point as well, hopefully with Drew. But please, again, I'll maintain this. Go onto Twitter and tweet at Logic Lara, get on TGT, because he's skiving. It's not good enough. It's being lazy. And we need Drew back on the show very soon. So tweet him, bully him, get him on. Do what you need to do. We'll get him on. Have a good evening, people. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your weekend knowing that Arsenal have won a game. And I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Always a pleasure. Absolute love all round. And as always, up the Arsenal.